So I'm recording this. We are starting. Anthony Semaan, thank you so much for joining us, Habibi. Hello, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And to the people watching us on Facebook Live and to the people participating here in the webinar, thank you for coming and welcome to the 4th edition of the PMX Artist Academy. The idea of the PMX Artist Academy, since we all know this year has pretty much gone sideways, we are unable to have our usual Palestine Music Expo, but that doesn't mean we can't stop learning and we can just like keep hearing from our delegates, from our partners, from our friends who want to help Palestinian musicians and help the Palestinian music scene. Now, before I introduce our guest, well, actually, I think I'll just introduce you, Anthony. Now, is it okay if I call you Tony?
Call me whatever you want.
All right, this is awesome. So, Anthony Semaan is the co-founder of the Beirut Jam Session, which is an organization that produces concerts, sessions, and festivals in Lebanon and the Middle East. You guys started in 2012, that's right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, you have a lot of experience and I'm dying to hear more about that. Anthony has worked on hundreds of shows in Lebanon and around the world, both under the Beirut Jam Sessions umbrella and numerous other collaborative entities. He has also been a key member of the Byblos International Festival since 2015, a consultant for numerous music related brands, and he has managed many emerging artists in the Middle East region. Right now, Anthony has also recently joined Deezer. Mabruk, Anthony.
Thank you.
One of the biggest streaming platforms in the world, as an artist marketing manager for the Levant and Egypt. And yes. I'm assuming you'll also tell us more about that, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. So we're gonna do this. Anthony, you will share your screen for the next 40 minutes or so. Yeah. And you guys, whenever you have a question, please write your question in the chat box, and I will write it down. And after Anthony is done, we're just gonna ask him the questions you guys wanted to ask. And I think we should be done at around 6 or so. Is that cool?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. No worries. Just stop me anytime you want. If as I'm going along, let it be really open. If anyone has any questions, if they don't understand anything, don't hesitate to stop me midway.
Okay. One last thing, Anthony, if you don't mind. We are doing this in English since we are going Facebook Live. The Palestine Music Expo is also it's a local initiative, but the idea of the Palestine Music Expo is to connect us to the world. So we have many people watching us, not just from Palestine and not just Palestinians. If you guys want to ask a question in Arabic, both of us speak Arabic. Tony عربيات ممتازات كمان. فمش راح تكون مشكلة. So if you want to ask a question, you can also ask it in Arabic, and Anthony, you can provide an answer in Arabic as well. Yeah. So go ahead, my friend. You can start.
All right. Let's share my screen. 1 second. Can everyone see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm just gonna get this as a. Sorry, just want to put it as a full screen. Okay, I'm gonna keep it like this so I can see you as well. All right. So first of all, thank you guys for having me. Thank everyone for being here. Today we're gonna look at some of the best practices for artists from the Middle East and North African region. Obviously, this is something that is based on my experience, and I'm sure many of you have different experiences. So it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but this is as best as I can put it. The way we're going to look at things today is there's 6 different parts we're going to look at. 1 is the mindset, how we should be thinking and how I see things. 2, how we're going to define some of our targets as people from this region. 3, the different ways to make money from the industry as it is today. 4, our very similar problem, which is passports and visas and so on, and how to tackle this. 5, everything related to online promotion. And 6, the final point, which is streaming platforms. I'll give you a brief introduction about myself. So my name is Anthony Semaan. I'm from Lebanon. I grew up 17 years in Nigeria. I moved here when I was 17. I finished my studies in Lebanon, and then I started working in telecommunications, which has nothing to do with anything. But after having traveled and lived in Switzerland and then in Spain, I came back to Beirut to start Beirut Jam Sessions. Beirut Jam Sessions is a platform that organizes concerts, that produces sessions, that organizes festivals, that manages artists. So I've done the whole 360 of all of this. We've been doing this since 2012. And so far it's been going really well. On top of Beirut Jam Sessions, I've been working with the Byblos International Festival, which is a festival that happens every summer, but obviously not this summer, where in general we have 7 or 8 headline artists from around the world, people like Elton John or John Legend or Sia or different artists who are quite big. And we organize their shows here. For the festival, I'm in charge of everything related to artist management and communication and logistics. In parallel to this, I've also worked as an artist manager for numerous artists in the region, and specifically from Lebanon, and as well as a booking agent for them. I still do this on a consultancy basis. So some artists hire me for certain projects, be it an EP or an album launch or whatever. We determine the objective and the period. And I do the same for different brands who hire me to work with them. And recently, I've just joined Deezer as the artist marketing manager for the Levant and Egypt region. So that's just a quick look at my story. So the first thing I'll say is that there are really no rules for the Middle East and North Africa, especially today with what's been happening around the world, and especially the fact that everyone is in the same situation. Suddenly, we've reached somehow a level playing field. So we have to start from the get-go that there really are no rules of how things should work. We're going to look at the mindset. And the mindset, for me, the first thing we have to think of is to manage expectations. So, sorry, you're going to hear my dog, by the way. Again, apologies for that. The first thing we're going to do is to manage expectations. To do that, you have to decide within yourself, do you want to be an artist who fills out stadiums, or do you want to be an artist who plays small venues? Like, this is something you have to determine very early on in your career. Do you want to do, little shows and so on and so forth, knowing that less than 5% of artists in the world are in that category who can fill stadiums and do big shows. So we have 95% of artists who are in the small and emerging side. When artists say there are no managers and no labels and there's no support, to that I say, so what? It doesn't really matter. Up until recently, I mean, for the longest time, an example being Mashrour Leila, have been without a label. They've had managers, they've had people collaborate with them, they've worked with different people, but they're an example of a band that have done it without a label so far. I think things are going to change in the future, but at least they're an example to see that even if you don't have that, you can still make something happen. Another part in the mindset, this is always the same thing, it's to keep it in the mindset. You have to remember that this is all about how you should be perceiving things. I believe you should treat yourself as a brand. So you have to think of yourself as a product, which is, I put 2 examples here. One is Coldplay and one is Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd have they had the same logo, the same branding, all that stuff. And that was able to sell much more than even their music, I think. People know that logo wherever you put it in the world. And Coldplay, if you see throughout their history, if you look at all their albums, every album was treated as a brand. So whether it's the first album or the last one, they would go into different types of trips, and that would be how they would approach the album launch or whichever project they're working on. And the final thing of the mindset is that whatever you do, it takes a lot of time. And this is something you have to understand, especially with knowing that today when on streaming platforms, there's 40,000 songs being uploaded per day. When there are so many different artists out there putting stuff out on social media, what's going to make you stand out? So everything you're going to do takes a lot of time. And I put an example here, which is Rodrigo y Gabriela. They're a Mexican guitar duo. They started as buskers in the street, and 20 years later, they won a Grammy. Again, different context completely to our side of the world, but going back to the point that there are no rules and that everyone is on the same level playing fields today. So what they achieved by starting 20 years ago and winning something today, we can say the same for our part of the world. A second point that we're going to look at, by the way, if anyone wants to stop me here, just feel free. Second point we're going to look at is our targets. It's very important, again, to define your targets. Some artists want to live off the music. They want to just make money. This is one target. Another one is you want to just have, you know, exposure and more reach and more fans and try and go as far as possible. Another one is trying to develop yourself, trying to get recognition from people. People love knowing that your work is being appreciated. And the final one is touring and performing. Obviously, when you know that these are the targets, these are the things you want to achieve, then from that point forward, you can start pinpointing where you're going to go first. Obviously, it's not necessarily always going to work according to plan. Some people want to tour and, you know, they're solo performers and they want to earn $100 per concert, but they would rather do, you know, 30 concerts, so one every day. That's an example. Obviously, it's extreme, but I'm just giving an example like that. So knowing those two things that I've just mentioned, I always believe that it's important to look at the Middle East region in a different mindset. When you look at the map, all of those countries represent our region. Those countries are us, and we share some common factors, whether it's the language, whether it's the habits, whether it's the culture. We have some common things. But the way I look at it is this whole region should be considered as a country. We should look at it as a country, and we should look at each country as a city. So Lebanon is tiny, Palestine is tiny, Jordan is smaller, Egypt is huge. You know, all these things mean that we can find ways to reach these different audiences. Of course, there's different challenges, which we're going to look at. But again, for us people in the region and for artists in the region, I really advise you to look at the region as a country. Think of it as how everyone looks at North America as, you know, North America, which is a huge country, and I mean the USA, and the way they perceive going on tours from New York to LA to whatever, we can look at the same and we can treat it the same way because we have these common factors and common cultures between ourselves. Obviously, we're faced with the passport and visa situation. As Lebanese or as Palestinians or anyone else from the region, we have a limited number of countries that allow us to go into them visa-free. But those limited number of countries are opportunities because we can go play there. As artists, you can perform there. Those that do have visa processes that you have to go to, obviously it's a bit more difficult for Lebanese and for Palestinians. But again, I would say approach it in the way where you see those countries. I think there's 30 or 40 between for Lebanese people and for Palestinians. They're not the most exotic countries in the world for the music industry, but it doesn't mean that people aren't listening to music. It doesn't mean that people aren't interested in finding out what you're doing. It doesn't mean that you can't go and explore how to reach them. So when you know that these countries exist, one of the things I would say that we have to focus on is the target market. Normally, for some reason, we always tend to believe that we want to target the bigger markets, the UK market, the German market, the US market, all those massive markets that have so many people. Whereas thanks to the internet and to social media, and because we know our restrictions as artists and as people from this region, what we can do is simply focus on these countries. Sorry about that. We can focus on these countries that are allowing us to travel visa-free or that facilitate the process of going to their countries and visiting. So that's one. Two, when it comes to digital concerts, with what's happened recently, there's been a huge spike in digital concerts everywhere. There are so many different platforms, even Beirut Jam Sessions is one of them, where people are organizing concerts on their Instagram pages, via Zoom, via their Facebook pages, and they want artists to perform on their pages. So it's going to give you that visibility. And the thing is, you decide the duration of the concert. You can say, I'm going to play for 10 minutes or for 15 minutes. And this will build you a stronger audience. It will build a little bit of a following, because how else would someone from Beirut have known about a certain artist if it wasn't for them performing on a platform like ours or many other platforms who've done the same thing? So that's the second thing. Another thing is building your online reach. Of course, we all know the importance of social media. We all know you have to be present on it. We'll go into that a bit more deeper later. But I think if, as long as you're consistent in promoting your work online, whether it's going live, whether it's posting, whether it's, you know, sharing behind the scenes stuff, your following is going to grow. It has to grow. You have to continually do this. Again, think of how quickly it takes you to swipe down a screen. It takes 1 second. So imagine how many things you're seeing per day. There's studies that say that the human being sees 10,000 pieces of content a day. If there's 10,000 pieces of content a day that you're seeing, how are you going to stand out if you're not consistently posting? Normally, we are taught to believe that this is spamming, but it's not, because that 1 second is not a spam if you're giving different content all the time. And the final one is the digital streaming platforms, which we'll also look at later, because digital streaming platforms can be your best friends if you work well with them. So that's what we should be focusing on in this region, knowing the points that I've mentioned already. Here, I'm sure you know some of these artists on the screen at the moment. These are success stories who started out as independent artists, who had the same problems with passports, who had the same problems with not having a label, who had the same problems with so many things that we've all faced. And they're making it. They're making a living off this. They've chosen, you know, what they want to achieve, and they're going for it. And this is working for them, you know. So all these examples are I'm sure you know all of them, and they're from our region, and they sing in Arabic, and they're performing in the bigger markets. And it took a long time to get where they're at. We're talking about a decade at least for each of them. And that's how they ended up doing what they're doing. So going back to the point that it does take time. Going into revenue streams. So obviously with COVID-19 and the situation around the whole world, things have changed and things are not looking very good at the moment, but there's still opportunities of things to do. Okay, well, let's assume that we're in normal circumstances, with the exception of digital concerts right over here. Digital concerts, as I mentioned, there's so many of them, and they're the ones we should be focusing on if we want to make, you know, live gigs happen. The rest of the time, normal concerts are your number one revenue stream all the time. Streaming platforms are also a revenue stream if you do it right. If you're able to get 1 million streams on a song, again, that's a difficult thing to achieve when you're an independent artist, but that's something. Something also that most artists don't pay attention to is sync and licensing, meaning getting your music onto, sorry guys, sorry about this. Yeah, getting your music onto different movies, different series, and so on and so forth. This is something that you can do with different sync agencies. They do exist, and they do want artists who are from our part of the world. For instance, there's sync agencies who handled getting the music onto Rami on Netflix and so on and so forth. So this is something to consider. They do exist, and they want music from our side of the world, especially now when there's so much content being created for our side of the world. Merch, of course, merchandise is something you can do. You can create digital merch today. You can create cool digital posters, personalized ones, instead of it being actual posters where you have to deliver them. That's why we're all stuck in our countries at the moment. So you can deliver this as well. You can create a cool poster that people buy online. Sponsors, they do exist. I don't know the conditions of, I mean, obviously in Lebanon, the conditions right now are bad in terms of receiving money from outside and so on. But I don't know what it's like in Palestine. I'm assuming it's the same.
It's always like that in Palestine.
Exactly. So we've joined your club now. So I don't know if that's still an aspect to focus on even out here. But I mean, it's something that eventually could work, because the thing is, international brands, I'm giving an example. Let's say Adidas or whatever, or I don't know, I'm saying anything, brands that have clothwear or anything, they would sponsor good artists to have good visibility online, because it's a cool factor, for them it's being edgy, for them it's being inclusive, and so on and so forth. Brand collaborations, same thing as sponsors. you can do that. There's a lot of brands like Red Bull who have supported a lot of different artists from the region. So that's something. Sorry, guys. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, sorry again. Another thing is teaching online. A lot of people do give classes. If you're a musician, then you know, obviously you can play an instrument, and a lot of people are willing to pay for this from around the world. I've seen artists who are from here who are doing this. They start giving online classes, and it's working. DJ sets right now, obviously it's not really working, but it's eventually going to come back, and the same for private events. So these three over here, concerts, private events, DJ sets, at the moment obviously it's not really happening, but it's going to come back, you know. So these are the revenue streams. Sorry about that. Yeah, when it comes to online promotion, again, there are no rules. The things is, everything has changed today with COVID-19. Right now, we're on the same playing field as artists from the UK or from France or from wherever. Everyone is in the same situation. No concerts, no money. What do we do? And this is where you have to promote yourself online. Obviously, these are the six ones I would focus on. So Facebook being Facebook, of course, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, hello, Ahmed, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok. And I say TikTok because a lot of people ignore the power of TikTok at the moment, but it's growing ultra fast. So yeah, each one for you to be present on them is obviously normal. But the thing is, again, like with streaming platforms, they receive, if a music streaming platform receives 40,000 songs a day, then all of these ones receive millions and millions a day. And you have to feed these platforms for you to be visible on them. Second of all, I would say, given the fact that when you're consuming these posts on Instagram or on Facebook or on whatever, it's very quick, it's 1 second. So don't overthink how you're gonna post. Let it be fast, create them, put it out there. I also think it's very important not to cross promote. So if you have a YouTube video, don't share a YouTube link on Facebook. Facebook has its own video platform. So you're supposed to upload it on all of these platforms separately, because they all have different audiences and they all work different type of algorithms. Finally, and then again, like everything else, it takes time to grow following. I would also focus on Arabic and English content. So I would say go in both, because you are reaching a wider audience. Obviously you use the hashtags, you do everything, but go for both. Everyone is into Arabic. Everyone from this region is into Arabic content. Everyone from abroad is into English content. It's a universal language. And think of it, today, what we're doing is for free, but 1 year from now, it's not going to be for free. Facebook ads 5 years ago, when you would post something for $5, it was relevant, but today it's not. Today, if you post an ad for $5, it makes no sense. So 5 years from now, it's not going to be free anymore. So you have to be able to adjust to this. And one of the last ones is creating newsletters. We all have a bunch of friends. We all have email addresses. Send them your news. Send them every week your news, and it usually gathers traction. The final point I'm going to go into is streaming. So obviously, you have the three, these are the three big ones in the region. Anghami has 70 million users. Those are the numbers in terms of the average income per stream. Spotify has 271 million users. Deezer has 14 million users. Now, each one has its own different target audience. Each one is big in its own way. And each one has to be given different type of attention. The things you have to keep in mind is the MENA population is 578 million people. Most of these people are starting now to get into the music streaming thing. We're never going to have everyone using them. But when you realize that that's the audience we're dealing with, as I said, the country of the Middle East and North Africa, then it starts becoming interesting in terms of the perspective. On YouTube, the MENA region is the #2 region with the highest average watch time of music content, which means that when an artist like Elisa drops a video, people don't just watch the video. They watch that video and every other video that follows. There's actual numbers proving this. And this is from the Middle East. Also, we have our diaspora from this region is gigantic. We have so many people from this region living around the world, and they're people we should be targeting as well. Keep in mind, these platforms are all new to the region. Right now, I'm telling you from a Deezer perspective as well, we need the artists more, almost more than the artists need the platforms, because we want to start getting the artist on the platforms. We want to start pushing the artist on our platforms. So the ball is in your court as an artist. Now you know that you have these different platforms. What are you going to do with them? How are you going to promote yourself on them? The different types of ways to do that. First of all, anything you post, why not tag them on, tag the different streaming platforms on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on your Twitter. This always works. These platforms do react to good posts where you're telling them what you're doing and your release and so on. Video IDs, where you take your phone, you say you can now listen to my song on this, that, and you tag again the streaming platforms. These do get shared. These do get shared a lot, and then they take it on from there. I always say it's good to create original content for the platforms, not exclusive, because when you create exclusive, you're also limiting yourself. If you're going to create exclusive content just for Deezer, then you're limiting yourself maybe for Spotify and Hami, or vice versa. Your music should be everywhere. But by creating original content, so stuff that are very different, that are, you're going to create a series of talks where you're talking about your music. It's going to be a Deezer original, where it's going to be only on Deezer. You're behind the scenes of the music, what you thought about your songs. That's where it's interesting, because you're not burning the card of having your music available everywhere, but you're creating original content for the platform. There's many independent labels out there who can help you get onto these things. I work often with Believe. Believe is a platform that's between all the, so it's like TuneCore is where you upload your music, for instance. When you upload it to them, they're the link between the streaming platform and the digital distribution company, and they really do a good job. So I would also advise you guys check them out. Getting yourself on playlists, this is obviously the editors' jobs. Editors are the people who do all the playlists for streaming platforms. They're really like, they have a real good eye and ear for talent out there. And I would say, if you're planning to reach out to try and get onto playlists, don't aim for the biggest playlists to start with. Aim for the smaller ones that do exist, and try and get yourself on there, and then build it up from there, because it's very hard to get onto the big playlist at first. And different artist marketing managers like myself exist in all platforms. And you can find everyone on LinkedIn. You reach out to them, a simple message, you tell them what you want, what you're looking for, and I'm sure everyone is going to be more than willing to help in general. So those are the points, roughly. I've done it in half an hour. I've been as quick as I can, so there can be a Q&A after. So you guys, if you have questions, thank you again. I'm going to stop sharing my screen from here, and I'm going to let you guys take the lead.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And sorry about my dog, by the way.
I'm sorry?
Sorry about my dog. He goes crazy a bit.
Oh no, I mean, I have a dog too. Right now she's sleeping on the balcony, but you would have done the same. Thank God for the heat wave. All right, so do you guys have questions? I haven't seen. By the way, Tony, we had some technical issue. We were able to go on Facebook about a few minutes ago, but okay. Don't worry. I mean, the entire thing is recorded, and we will post this webinar as a whole later on Facebook. For those of you joining us now through Facebook or to the webinar, we are here live with Semaan from Deezer. Use what was that? DiatroKid to distribute my music, to distribute my music. Is TuneCore better? That's
can you hear me, by the way? I think it's cutting a bit right now, but can you hear me? Because I can
hear you fine. Yeah,
I can't hear you at the moment. Not too sure. Okay, someone asked, is TuneCore better? Yes, TuneCore is, in my opinion, TuneCore is better because they have Believe. So let me tell you, just to explain to you about Believe. So TuneCore is where you put your music. So you put it goes out, you choose all the streaming platforms that you want to go to, and it gets your music onto Spotify, Anghami, Deezer, Apple Music, all that stuff. In between there, there's a thing called Believe. And what Believe does is they act as the link between you and all the streaming platforms. So for instance, I get a call, I get emails from Believe almost on a daily basis. They're like, check out this artist's new release. He's sent us the video saying, you can now listen to my music on Deezer. And can you get us any support on playlists? Then at least I know I have a relationship, because there's many artists that I'm never going to hear of. I'm never going to know. There's so many, you know, but I'm getting a lot of Egyptian artists at the moment who do these stuff, and it's helping a lot, you know, like to be able to know who we're going to promote, at least on a social media point of view. That's great. You know, we're getting them out there. They're getting visibility. It's good branding for the artist as well, to see that they're, you know, it's more legit to see, you know, with Deezer branding saying, you know, you can now listen to my stuff on Deezer and so on and so forth. And then when it comes to the playlisting stuff, again, it's up to the artist marketing manager, which is in my case, I have to convince the editor, and he has to be convinced that it's worth putting on a playlist. Now, the editors, who are the people who do the playlists on all platforms, have so many playlists. So they have some that are massive and they have some that are really small. And when you spot them, you can, you know, I would say what makes sense is where you see yourself fit on the small playlist to start with, because that gives the support. You can't aim for a playlist that has 1 million followers straight up and say, I want to be on this playlist, you know? Hold on.
Okay, we have another question from Nakhl Shker. As DJs in MENA, how can we promote ourselves and stand out from the rest of the competition, as most DJs almost do the same thing? And that's a very good question.
It is a very good question, and it's a very difficult answer, because the thing is, there's more DJs than artists almost these days on all platforms. I mean, in general. I mean, when there's a party or an event, you have 6 or 7 DJs, whereas with music, and that's on a weekly basis. So on a Friday, you have 6, 7 DJs. On a Saturday, you have that. With live music, you can never have 6, 7 artists every night. So I would say what you should focus on right now as a DJ, this is my opinion, is just try and build yourself as a brand. Like, try and make your image better in terms of how you put yourself out there, being consistent, trying to make it more interesting visually for people. Like, why would I, who doesn't know you, listen to your DJ set? Whether it's, I don't want to say, I mean, something like visually, let it be attractive in terms of the branding, the logo, all that stuff of yourself. That attracts a lot of people. When I tell people something, when I tell people, I don't know, Daft Punk, everyone knows the logo, the branding of Daft Punk. I would say you have to think of, just to stand out, that's what you would do. I would say it's the branding that's going to make you stand out, because musically, music is subjective. So what might sound great for most people sounds horrible for other people. So it's super, super subjective. But what isn't subjective is when there's things like how much content you put out there, you know, quantity of things. That's not subjective.
Yeah.
How present you are on social media, that's not subjective. The numbers speak for themselves. So that's what I would say to stand out. I would say it's branding, your first thing. Like, get a cool image of yourself out there, and just create a bunch of content just all the time. Be the different type of DJ, not the one who's going to stand there, put a video of themselves live on Instagram and playing. People want to know why you listen to this song. People want to know why you compose this song. Even if 5 people are watching you or 10 people, it's great. It's a great start. But when you have 5 or 10 people watching you 30 times in a month, it's different. That's when it starts becoming, you know, a heavy thing. That's why I'm saying that it has to be consistently, you know, you have to be really consistent on social media. So that's what I would say for that question.
Okay, we have thank you for that. We have somewhat of a maybe similar question from Omar Ahmed, but he's asking on beginners. What do you think starting artists should focus on first, from your experience?
Well, I will tell you what you shouldn't be focusing on, which is you shouldn't be focusing on trying to get the perfect song and the perfect video and the perfect everything out. That's for sure. Because most artists will have a bunch of songs that they've never released. And they're always going to be waiting. They're going to be like, yeah, but I'm waiting for the production, and I'm waiting for this, and I'm waiting for the right video, and I'm waiting for the right that. And right now, you shouldn't be focusing on that. You should be focusing on getting everything out as much as possible. That's what you should be doing. Playing as much as you can, even to 5 or 10 people in real. playing as much as you can on social media, being as present as you can everywhere, everywhere, all the time, because you're always 3 steps away from that one song that's gonna be a hit for you, you know. And you never know, the song that you might hate that you wrote might be the one that's gonna become the hit, you know. So I would say that's, you should be focusing on getting everything you have out there on a consistent basis. If now you have 20 songs, let's say you have 20 songs written and you haven't recorded them, even if the recording isn't great, put them out there. Find a way to put them out there as a recording on your phone, I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. Because today, again, it's the quantity of work that you're doing that's going to overtake the quality, because again, quality is very subjective. I'm someone who likes music that's really acoustic and that's unplugged and that's raw. Other people like stuff that is super high production. But when it shows that you've done something consistently, you have 20 songs, you release one song every Monday, then suddenly you have a bit more credibility than if you released one song with super ultra production. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do.
So I have a question from me. We obviously live in the golden age of content, since we're all stuck at home and we consume a lot of content. And it's very confusing, and it's also very deterring because there is a lot of content out there. So I guess maybe that's why people want to perfect their posts or perfect their music that they put out there. Now, is what you're saying true only to the to this current situation, to the COVID-19 days, or is it true all the time? Don't overthink your posts. Don't overthink your stuff you post or you post on social media.
Yeah, because I think because the thing is, but just someone said, yes, of course you can send me a song and I'll send you my opinion. It'll be a pleasure. Whoever has any music, whoever wants anything, can I drop my email here?
Yeah, sure. I will do that at the end. Anthony will share his email with us, and you guys. Thank you so much, Tony, for doing this. By the way, we really appreciate this.
It's a pleasure for me. Yeah. So when it comes to content, it's the consistency that's going to count.
Yeah.
It's the consistency and it's the quantity, because again, the quality is subjective. Look at how many people think of how many people were doing huge, meetings and one-on-one talks and whatever, big, webinars and whatever. And they were getting millions and millions of views. And they're getting even more views now that they're doing them on Zoom, where there isn't even a proper microphone, where there isn't even an audience. So it means that the quality of what we're seeing, again, is subjective. So it's just being consistently there, going on quantity. So the more you post, the more you're going to be seen. Put it this way, again, on our phones, we're going to see every day 10,000 pieces of content. So if you're seeing 10,000 pieces of content and you're doing this, it's taking you 1 second to do this. So imagine you're going to work for 1 month on a perfect music video, on the perfect sound, on the perfect everything for 1 second. That's what I mean. So if you're putting out content that's going to be fastly consumed, let it be fastly created. You know what I mean? So there has to be this speed.
Consistency and quantity.
Yes.
These are the key components. So we have another question from Ziad Hamouri. Should an artist incorporate the trending genre in their music to gain more reach, even if it wasn't part of their musical image to begin with? Hip hop and trap, for example, nowadays.
Look,
a tough question.
It's a tough question because it's very subjective to your situation. So the thing is, I think of how many artists we know who performed songs or created music in a certain way today, and 5 years from now they're completely different. The sound has changed so much. The thing is, you're going to evolve. So what works as a trend today is a trend. It doesn't mean you have to fall into it, and you might be good at it or not. You don't know. There's so many bands or artists who have evolved. Think of Mashroor Layla. I give them as an example. What they sounded like 10 years ago when they started, because they started 10 years ago, and how they sound today is two different things. They would never have gone into something that's has a bit more, synths and a bit more electronic sort of thing. Like, you're going to evolve as a musician. So I would say go for what you feel is right now, but know in the back of your mind that 1 year from now, you're probably going to change, and you're probably going to evolve, and you're probably not even going to like what you did today. So it's a constant learning process, and you should just keep doing it. It doesn't really, it really doesn't need to take that weight, you know. Just do it, and then see how you feel after it. You might love it and you might stay in it, and you might decide, you know what, I'm going to switch and go into something else. So it's just worth going into it at first. Get it out there and see how you feel after.
Yeah, I think Tony, you provided a very good answer to a very tough question, but it is a fair question. So we have another one from Maria Kaimaklioti. I really hope I pronounce your name right, Maria. If not, please, I apologize and correct me. Do you have advice for developing audiences to subscribe to platforms instead of pirating? And thank you for the thumbs up on my perfect pronunciation.
I'm not sure. I mean, do you mean for developing audience? Oh, you mean for audiences? You mean
in developing countries, I assume.
I think she means to gain a bigger audience of people subscribing rather than them ripping the music
like
off.
Developing masses of audiences. Is that what you meant, Maria?
Yeah, if you can just explain the question a bit more. Is it just getting people to follow you and like subscribe rather than download, rip your music? Is that what you mean?
I'm assuming that's what she means. We will, yeah.
Yeah, that's what she means.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Maria.
Yeah, thank you, Maria.
Go ahead, Tony.
Look. The thing with pirating is that there's no control over it today. I mean, there's even putting your music on YouTube. It's easy to pirate it, and you can't control that. What I would say is get your music out everywhere, and if people are pirating your music, it's a great sign. That's what I would say, because no one pirates something they don't like to start with. Everyone pirates something they like, they download it. Again, if you're gonna have 1 million streams and you're gonna get that 0.00 whatever dollars per stream, then you're going to start seeing a bit of revenue from streaming platforms. The thing with streaming platforms is they provide you with a lot of exposure. They provide you with a lot of opportunity. They provide you with so much that it goes beyond the money part. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why people think of getting them to subscribe rather than pirating, is because they think that by having them subscribe means you're going to get more people downloading and streaming and so on and so forth, which is a fair way to do things. But in my opinion, if your music is being pirated, it means you're doing a very good job. It means you're doing a very, very good job. It means someone is going out of their way to rip your music off, to listen to it, because maybe they can't afford to pay Spotify or Deezer or whatever. It means they really want to listen to your music. And that's how I see the thing. I'm not too fussed about that. I understand why you would be, but that's how I perceive it. I think that it's illegal. Yes, it's illegal. But again, it's very rare to find artists making a gazillion dollars or making a huge living of streaming. So, you might as well look at it as you're getting your name out there.
Yeah. I have another question. Before in your presentation, you mentioned also LinkedIn and approaching people in the music industry. Now, obviously, you need to have a lot of confidence, and that could be somewhat deterring. How do you approach people? How do you present yourself as an artist? How do you present your music? I mean, you know that you are approaching someone who gets these people approaching him on a daily basis. So how do you make yourself stand out? What to do and what not to do?
So obviously the traditional thing that people tell you to do is to have, a nice press kit, with everything nice, have all your stuff. The one thing I say that's super important is it doesn't necessarily need to be a press kit, but have just enough information to attract the attention of someone. Whether it's in the name of your artist, whether, again, going back to branding, the way you brand, it can be just a simple one-page document, a PDF, where it has, hyperlinks with click here to watch this live video, click. For me, that's so much more attractive than someone just saying, hey, I'm this, that. Can you listen to my music? And obviously this doesn't apply to you guys. To me, you guys are family, so you send me everything and I'll be more than happy to answer you guys. But I mean, in general, if you want to listen, if you want to reach out to other people who are professionals, I would say make it so nice visually that they have no choice but to click on it. So a little one-page document, you know, your Facebook link with the logo, whatever, all of it is hyperlinked. So you click here, you have the Facebook page, you click here, you have the YouTube video, and focus a lot on live videos. Because when people see you physically live, performing live, it makes all the difference. It makes all the difference, because that's where maybe there's an issue for let's say for DJs, because DJs, a lot of it depends on having a great setting and having a huge crowd and all that stuff. So it's more challenging for DJs, but DJs, you have the ability to have, you know, long sets on SoundCloud, and where real like professionals can go into that and listen to it, you know. But the branding is vital here.
So you need to start thinking of the branding from the very, very, very beginning. Yeah. And you said so in your presentation.
Yeah.
So any more questions to Tony Semaan? I think we'll...
thank you everyone again for being here. I really appreciate it.
Rafiq, you have your hand raised. Nobody asked you, Rafiq, to raise your hand, so please write down your question. Rafiq is a dear friend. He also did the social media for the Palestine Music Expo in 2019. So Rafiq, please ask your question. And this is to all the attendees. This is Anthony's email. Anthony.semaan@beirutjamsessions.com. Rafiq, we don't have a lot of time for a lot of questions, so please ask a couple of questions.
Ask a couple of questions, and then feel free to send me an email with the rest, and I'll be more than happy to help. Hello, Martin. It's great to have you here as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So yeah, we posted the email to all attendees. Can you let me post the email again?
I can.
You posted the email. I think you only posted the email.
Panelists. Okay.
To the panelists. I'm posting. Yeah, I just posted Tony's email to everyone, to all attendees. Okay, so let's have before we end this. I think we still have a few minutes to go, right, Tony? You good?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a question from Rafiq. What's the best practice to market music? That question disappeared. What's the best practice to market music that works best for film scoring and background? I'm assuming he means background music.
Oof, the way to market that. I think the best thing is to reach out to sync and licensing agencies. You can find them all over, like the same way people find booking agents. You know, I think artists have they have an easier time finding booking agents. They look at their favorite artist, you know, page on Facebook, they look at booking agent and they reach out to them. I think that you can do the same with sync and licensing. The thing with sync and licensing agencies is that they get your music onto movies, onto series, onto games, and all that stuff. And again, I mentioned this earlier, they do have an attraction for music from our side of the world, meaning the more edgy it is, the more different it is, the more they're going to go for it. So that's what I would say. I don't know of any agencies that work specifically with the MENA personally, but the thing is, all the European ones that exist, where you can find them by, you know, quick Google search, you can find many of them. They will want artists from this side of the world. In fact, I would say you're more likely to find European and American licensing and sync agencies that are willing to work with artists, emerging artists and independent artists here, than agencies here trying to do that. That's something I'm pretty confident about.
All right, Tony, any closing remarks? We would love to have you at some point at the Palestine Music Expo.
Oh man, it's a dream of mine to visit Palestine, and to your team with everything you guys have been doing. I've been following it for a few years, and I met Martin last year and Celia, and I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. anyone who's watching, really, like, you have to give these guys a follow. You have to support them, and always, you know, follow what's happening there. You guys are our neighbors. You're our brothers and sisters. So we're one big family, and it's a pleasure for me to have you guys here, and it's a pleasure for me to have anything to do with the PMX family. All of you guys are doing a great job. So thank you.
Well, Tony, the pleasure is all ours. This is truly important for us as Palestinians to be connected to people, influential people from the worldwide music industry, especially Arabs, and especially our neighbors and our, you know, friends and comrades, the Lebanese people, and hopefully for better days. We are hoping for some better days for both the Lebanese people and the Palestinian people, and especially Lebanese artists and Palestinian artists.
Yeah.
You guys, I want to thank Anthony Semaan again. Anthony is the co-founder of the Beirut Jam Sessions, and he's also the artist marketing manager for Levant in Egypt at Deezer. Thank you so much, Anthony. I'm clapping here. I'm applauding you.
As well for all of you. Thank you. I'm clapping in my heart that I'm here.
حبيبي شكرا كثير كتر خيرك. You guys, this session will be live on Facebook very shortly. You will be able to see Anthony's presentation again and to hear him answer all the questions again. So thank you so much, Tony. Thank you to all the attendees that participated and asked these very inspiring and insightful questions. And see you at the next webinar from the PMX Artist Academy.
See you guys.
شكرا مع السلامة. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.